In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
Welcome in, everybody. Southeast Sports Plus on this Thursday afternoon. And one of the biggest topics in college athletics right now has been name, image, and likeness. And things took a massive turn, not only when it comes to some federal regulations, but some decisions that are certainly going to impact student-athlete NIL all throughout the country, including in the SEC. Welcome in, everybody. Simone, Gerhard, Mathangani, Patrick Walsh joining you this afternoon. Guys, I'm so happy to be back.
Welcome
it's been
back.
a few days without you guys, holding it down, killing it, loving it. How's the week been, guys?
It's been good. It's been really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a number one, a lot of great guests.
Yes.
But two, we're sitting in a really pivotal spot in the Major League Baseball playoffs. And so
can't wait to talk about that.
The Cubbies are 1-1 right now.
Hey, where's your shirt? Where's your shirt? 'Cause I saw that you had it.
Well,
where is it?
The good thing is that Major League Baseball pushed all the start times back. The last 2 days we've been on right as the show came on. Today the game will start at 4 o'clock when Central Time.
Yes.
When the show is over, so I can go all eyes in.
You can get completely dialed in.
The baseball gods were looking at.
Patrick, a quick Mets update on their playoff run.
Yep.
Hey, great, guys. So back to NIL. Listen,
So mean-spirited.
I just have to. And quite frankly, it's kind of like my pseudo team because I did go watch them at least win one game
And
when
got on
I
the
was in New
Jumbotron.
York City. I know. You know what? I did. That was me. I was very, very proud of that moment. One of the better moments of my career, no question. Guys, listen, lots to get to as we roll right along in the college football season. And name, image, and likeness, Gerhard. I remember sitting at my desk a few years ago. Good God, a few years ago. And I remember when the first news of, hey, we're going to pay student athletes. I think it was DeSantis there in Florida said, we're going to pay athletes. It's kind of started to trickle out from different parts of the country. And everyone said, okay, we've got to do this. And we knew at that point there was going to be very little regulation. There were not going to be a lot of rules. The NCAA had tried to avoid something for so long that it was going to become out of control.
Right.
Now, it's out of control. And now the NCAA is looking to do what they can to get things back put together, put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think because it's so multi-pronged, what you're seeing some open doors, then closed doors.
Yes.
Some open doors, then closed doors.
Yep.
And what affects the small affects the large and vice versa as well. So we're talking about institutions in the way that they're able to handle their money and pay athletes directly.
Yes.
Now we're also talking about companies and individual student athletes. So like what affects the one affects the whole. And I do think it's one problem. It's like one of those things where, like, if you heard the quote, like, the rising tide lifts all boats situation.
Sure.
This is not really that.
No, it's
because
not.
One rising tide is here and some other boats are down here and vice versa. And sometimes it affects big time and sometimes small. But one of the first major dominoes as far as the overall NIL collective company we're seeing shutting its doors.
Yeah, let's talk about what the news is that came out just a couple of hours ago. And that is that one of the biggest third-party NIL collectives. And so let's be very specific about what that is. There are these companies that take money from donors, from whoever, whatever, and they help facilitate these contracts with companies, between companies and student athletes, right? So they find such and such company and they find such and such athlete and they marry the two together. It's like an agent, so to speak.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so these agencies are going to get shut out, and we're seeing that more and more. Part of it is coming on the heels of some new NCAA bylaws that are going to kind of take hold of what the NIL rulings are. So that's a really, really important note. What's happening now is that the NCAA is saying two things. One, that companies, whatever it is that they agree to pay an athlete, if that company does not follow through, schools can no longer make up the difference. Okay, so if Nike is going to pay me $1 million, and then Nike only pays me $500,000 for whatever reason, that Bowling Green State University, where I went to school and played basketball, all-star, all this stuff, right, is going to make up the other $500,000. The NCAA, that's the first prong of this. The NCAA says no longer are schools going to be allowed to guarantee that NIL money.
Well, we saw so many issues of this, and I forget the athlete that was at Florida, the quarterback that was at Florida, who got a deal and then got that deal rescinded. Jalen's something, I believe, but we'll get his name.
That was a wreck.
But he was one case study in the sense of like, hey, a deal was set and then somewhat agreed on, and then now the school and trying to find other money to help out. But you're right. I think what this does is cut out a really fat middleman, and I'm not objectifying it, but like what ended up happening because there was such chaos. There was a whole different lane of economy that was just literally created out of thin air.
Yep.
And corporations like this and others were trying to get in on the middle side of that. Make no mistake about it, the student athlete NIL, it was not just some like altruistic thing. It was to make money. It was to make some profit. So for example, let's just say they're making 30 cents on every dollar for the kid that they represented.
Sure.
Well, they were still making money on that. So and obviously this student athlete NIL has gone down.
Yeah.
But if you read more into it, they were looking to get into a merger with Blueprint Sports. And that merger failed. And I wonder if a lot of that failure was because of this new house settlement and then basically effectively cutting these people out.
I think it has to. I'm going to talk about my conversation with Greg Byrne back during the Final Four. I asked him, and this was before the house settlement was really settled. It wasn't agreed on.
Right,
it was still in the courts. We didn't know where it was going to go. It was getting voted on that week, actually. There in the Final Four, it got delayed. It happened much later, and then it's going to really come into attack next fall. And so what it says is that universities can spend $20.5 million on their student athletes. So that is all that schools can directly pay their student athletes. So they have to take $20.5 million and divide it upon all of their programs. Right. So what I understand is that about $18 million for schools that care about bringing in students and revenue and things are going to put that towards football. So $18 million out of $20.5 is going to go towards football.
Right.
Okay. So, and I asked him. I said to Greg Byrne, okay, so that solves like one problem. They're gonna kind of stronghold how much schools can pay student athletes. How do you get rid of the collectives? To which he said, we feel strongly that's going to take care of itself. The business model doesn't work because here's the deal.
Yeah.
Schools don't just have $20.5 million lying around.
Right.
So these people that have money are going to donate directly to how they can impact their student athletes. They're going to donate to the schools give the money to the student athletes. So we're going to see that middleman, we're going to see that fade away. The other part of the NCAA's rulings today say that collective and booster deals must include specific direct activation. What that means is that I can't give you money if you don't do anything.
Right.
If you don't do something to actually, wear my product, if you aren't doing something that is of value, something that is tangible,
can't be a no-show job.
You can't make money.
Yeah, it can't be a no-show job, and it has to be able to effectively bargain help everybody. So, but for example, let's just say that I own a company that does let's say I sell cameras, for example.
Sure.
Do I have to have photography of you using my camera in your work, or you show me photography in your work? Where does that extend and how far does that go? And at the same time, if we take this all the way back to where all of NIL started, this is where it started. It started where people can make money off going to camps and make money off of selling Milo's tea or whatever, or doing whatever the
first ones that came out. I remember that. Bo Nixon on that.
Bryce Young maybe.
Yeah.
And so this does go back to where it just can't be some fat cat that made a lot of money in real estate or in some other product selling whatever venture, and he's just like, I like my team X, and let me go pay quarterback Y $10 million for absolutely nothing.
Correct.
It is going to derail that. And how that is enforced to me is going to be really interesting.
Okay, so here's the thing. So Dan Murphy of ESPN is the one that actually put this information out. He got some inside scoop regarding the NCAA ruling today, and just clarification on what the second rule we just mentioned is actually addressing. They call it warehousing, where a collective pays for a player's NIL rights with the promise of them to use them later, but no specific endorsement actually in mind. So just again, no show jobs like you mentioned. So what I think is really, really funny about this is sometimes to understand a story, you have to go look to see who is one of the loudest people complaining about it. Because I think sometimes if you're trying to figure out if what's being done by the NCAA or what's being done by anybody is who is complaining about it the most.
Right.
So if we're trying to figure out if what the NCAA is doing is right or if it's the right thing for student athletes, look no further than who's complaining, which is the biggest booster for Texas Tech.
Yes.
He is out here and he is shouting from the rooftops about how this is the worst thing that has ever happened and how it is just not. And this guy has single-handedly bankrolled every single one of Texas Tech's entire programs. I mean, softball, look no further than that.
Yeah.
And their all-star $1 million pitcher, hitter, or this woman who just absolutely killed it. She was great. She's probably worth the money. My point is, there's a reason the NCAA is putting these rules in place, and it's not just because they woke up on a Thursday and said, let's do this.
There was a deal tied right to a player that's from this area. Lee Hunter bypassed the NFL because in the NFL, it probably would have been a third or fourth, fifth round pick, but he got a guaranteed close to $2 million to go to Texas Tech and to be on their defensive line. You think about St. John's. St. John's had the guy that had vitamin water, a billionaire.
Sure.
He ended up saying, hey, I want to buy a roster. With Rick Pitino, who do you want? Got 6 guys, and that team ended up in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8.
I mean,
but here, I'll put the shoe on the other foot though, Simone. Let's just say I win the Powerball. I have made no bones about it. If I win the Powerball, my favorite school is getting paid. It's getting paid.
Who exactly is your favorite school?
I'm not going to say on this program, but I will say my favorite school, the school that I rooted for,
Can you buy the Cubs a World Series, and or can you buy the Patriots back into
your favorite school
success?
on this program before. Why are you scared to say it now?
I grew
Put
up.
it on him, Patrick.
Yeah,
Put it on him,
come on,
bro.
man.
I grew up an Auburn fan. I have now
Listen,
realized.
Auburn's not hurting for money. They're just hurting for things to actually go well. That's all.
I went to Jacksonville State. So Jacksonville State and Auburn get paid.
You know what? If anyone sees it, just a private donor. All I know is if I am on a beach somewhere with a martini and Auburn is Richard, just know Gerhard hit the jackpot because we both got paid. I'm his best friend and that's his favorite team.
But now I would have done a no-show job, and now that's not available. Now I have to make them work.
You know what? Patrick and I will just take whatever it was that you were going to put on the planes and not worry about that. Give it us. Give it to us.
Give it to us. We need the money.
Anyways, all that to say, the NCAA is certainly putting their best effort forth in trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube as it relates to name, image, and likeness, student athletes being paid. And look, make no mistake about it, the NCAA, whatever that they expect to be paying to sit in court, that will be tripled because there are going to be more, you name it, antitrust, this, that, yada, yada, all this in the courts over the next several years, now more than ever, because of how much it went one direction, how much they're going to try to pull that back into real things and just have some sort of regulation.
They're paying for the sins from decades before.
Yeah.
Right now, in real time.
Yeah.
And they will be doing so, I would think, for probably the better part of the next decade.
Yeah, no question about that. Guys, we have a stacked show over the next hour, 45 minutes. Patrick, take a look at some of the guests that we're going to have across Next Star Nation today. Looking forward to this. Going to check in just a bit with our girl Camden Morris joining the show from Jackson, Mississippi. Then we're going to head up to Columbus, Georgia. Hear from the sports director at WRBL, Jack Patterson. Holden Cruzmark holding it down in Oklahoma City to talk about the Sooners. And then just a little bit south there from Oklahoma, we're going to check in with our guy Noah Gross from Austin, Texas. So a talented group all across Next Star Nation. Excited to have them on the program here over the next hour and 45 minutes or so on Southeast Sports Plus. For Patrick, Gerhard, I'm Simone. Stay with us. The show returns in 2.5 minutes. Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus, rolling right along, and very excited to welcome our friend just from the west of us here in Mobile, over in Jackson, Mississippi. What song is that? What song says that?
I'm going to Jackson.
No, not that one. It's Jackson, Mississippi. Bring in Camden. Camden, what song is that?
There's a Kid Rock one called Jackson, Mississippi.
It's a what is it?
Kid Rock has a song. It's called Jackson, Mississippi.
No,
No,
this
you're
is
thinking
like
of what's his name? It's a popular song.
Oh man,
Bruno Mars.
I knew it was somebody, one of those like Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh yeah, that one.
Okay,
No,
all right.
that
Listen,
one's good.
you know what? I'll look it up in a minute. Camden, welcome into the show. Happy Thursday afternoon. How are you, ma'am?
No, I'm great. Excited to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. I know it's a busy time for everybody, not only in the SEC, but in all of college football. Mississippi State, of course, fell short to Tennessee in a game that certainly could have gone either direction, goes into overtime, one of those where you wish you had it back if you were Jeff Lebby. But regardless, where Mississippi State is right now, going into week 6 of the season, is in a place where I'm not sure a lot of people outside of that locker room believed they would be. Camden, what do you feel like the outlook for this team is right now here entering week 6 of the year?
I think it's a 180 when you're going from last season to this
No
season
question.
now. I think fans are more excited. I mean, going to the games this season compared to last season, fans are out at the game. There was not an empty seat in the house. People were standing on the side of the road begging for tickets. That did not happen once last year. Nobody was begging for tickets to see Mississippi State. But this year, people are fighting for tickets. Ticket sales are up. And people want to be at Mississippi State games, and I think that speaks a lot of confidence into the team that Coach Lebby has been able to build this year.
Yeah, going into this matchup against a Texas A&M team right now that, of course, beat Auburn. They're ranked in the top 10. There's a lot of things that are going well for Texas A&M, although I do think that some people still want kind of some prove it from the Aggie program. Going to College Station is always a tough place to do. What are you hearing from the Bulldogs, from players and from coaches as they gear up for this game on Saturday night?
I mean, I think Mississippi State feels like they have something to prove. They're still trying to fight to be able to prove that, they're not the same team from last year. They've had, 2 really good games with Tennessee and Arizona State, but the other teams they play just, I don't feel like we're the caliber that we need to see that they're going to be valuable in the SEC program. So I think this game can kind of show fans, we're back. We're not the same team as we were last year. If they can pull off that win, it can be a redemption game for fans who saw that heartbreaking loss in overtime for Tennessee, because at one point you thought Mississippi State's got it. Mississippi State is going to beat Tennessee, and this is going to be groundbreaking.
Absolutely. Going into the season, all the hype about quarterbacks was all about Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier and even guys like Lenora Sellers. But Blake Shapen has kind of quietly been a really steady, solid leader for this team. Now his second year in the program, what has Jeff Lebby seen in his growth and some of the ways that he can continue to help this team make strides forward?
Yeah, no, Shapen's definitely a leader on that program. Everybody kind of looks to him. He's kind of the glue, I think, that holds Mississippi State together this year. I think a lot of credit goes to him, but also those wide receivers. I mean, his wide receivers are fast, and they are people that Shapen heavily relies on. I think if Shapen can just throw that ball a little bit faster, because all we saw at Tennessee was him constantly getting sacked, that he wasn't throwing the ball fast enough, and that can lead to another re-entry. So I think that's something that we've got to see out of Shapen moving forward, and he knows that. He talked about that in press conferences, that he's got to move the ball faster. He's just taking too long to make a decision.
I want to ask Camden, Fluff Bothwell is a name that we're very, very familiar with here in the Mobile area. Of course, he was recruited to South Alabama, did some big things. You couldn't miss him there in the backfield for the Jags. And when he eventually decided to transfer, I don't think it came to a shock to a lot of folks because, well, and we knew what his numbers were in high school. There was one game that he had ridiculous numbers. What was that?
Like 6 or 7 touchdowns.
It was like, I feel like it was even more than like 12 touchdowns or something. I'll look that up in a second. But how much has he just really become a dynamic guy in the backfield for Mississippi State? I mean, he's posted, I think, 405 rushing yards already, 6 touchdowns. I mean, I don't care who you're playing against. That's hard to do in Division I college football. And this is a guy who just showed up 4 minutes ago. How do you feel about what he's been able to contribute to this offense?
I think he's really been able to prove himself. I think he's showing that, I want to be on an SEC team, and that's exciting for him. And I think looking to those leaders on those teams and having that good team chemistry, when you talk to any of the guys on the Mississippi State team, they talk about team chemistry in whatever room they're in and how they've been able to grow as a team and look towards those leaders. And Fluff has already went in there and kind of became his own leader. He's showing people that you don't have to be here long to make a big impact, and he's showing people exactly why he belongs on Mississippi State's team. I don't think he's done just yet. I think we're going to see a lot of great things out of him for the rest of the season.
Mississippi State was 0-8 last year in the SEC, and now 0-1. And I know there's no such thing as moral victories, but that Tennessee game game was, like Simone said, it was basically a coin flip. What's that next step for this team to finally get over the hump and pick up that first SEC win, although the resume so far has been really strong?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a 180, like I said, from last year, but there's still a lot more to prove, and I think Mississippi State knows that. They feel that. The fans feel that. I mean, you could see it on their faces. It was like they just fell asleep during overtime. I don't think anybody expected Tennessee to just go out there and get that touchdown and win. It's like we weren't ready for them to do that, and I think everyone was really surprised by that. I think they have to be on their A game every second, and it's hard because they can't take a break. They've got to keep going. They've got to keep that mental focus. I think staying focused for all 4 quarters in the game, just staying focused every single second of the game is what's going to help put Mississippi State over the top, and focusing on those small mistakes and where they can improve, because the team chemistry is there. They're being able to throw the ball. They're catching the ball. They're making those runs and those plays. They just have to work on those small mistakes that can cost those games.
If you're just tuning in, this is Southeast Sports Plus. Simone, Gerhard, Patrick, Camden Morris joining us from Jackson, Mississippi to talk all things the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We had a chance to hear from Jeff Lebby, as we often do, all the head coaches going into a big game week. Let's take a listen to Coach Lebby on what it's going to take to transition from that tough loss and get ready for the Aggies.
Yeah, again, as we cleaned the game up for me Saturday night and into Sunday morning, then it was just ready to get on to A&M, a really, really good football team. I think we understand their roster, talent level, things like that, but offensively been really explosive in the throw game. 2 great receivers. They've got 2 really, really good running backs, and they've got a veteran O-line that's played a lot of ball defensively. There's some similarities from the standpoint that they've created a bunch of sacks, and that's going to be a huge point of emphasis again for us this week. We've got to find ways to protect, keep 2 upright, and give him a chance to pitch and catch.
Camden, I want to ask you specifically, Camden, about Jeff Lebby. He's in his 2nd year there at Mississippi State. He's an offensive guy. He's had several stops in the SEC. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. How much do you feel as though he has this program on a trajectory that is just really going to take off at some point? It's everyone that goes into that kind of sophomore year as a coach, and you always wonder what it's going to look like. Hugh Freeze there, obviously at Auburn, didn't really go into from year 1 to year 2 and have some huge step up. And now we've seen in year 3, okay, there are some glaring concerns. I feel like if you're Jeff Lebby, I feel like if you're Mississippi State's fan base, you're saying, hey, this is working. And that alone is a positive thing coming from a program in the state of Mississippi where you maybe don't have as many resources as other SEC schools to compete, to have any amount of success at this point is a step in the right direction.
It's absolutely a step in the right direction. I think Coach Lebby has shown that he's ready to take over this program, and he has tools to implement success. I mean, like you said, the resume speaks for itself. But last year, we didn't see what that resume was for. It really didn't show on the field, unfortunately. But this year, it's showing. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if he can keep that momentum going. But also going into year 3, I think that's going to be really interesting to see how he does, especially without Shapen as quarterback. Because if you know Jeff Lebby, you know he is team Shapen. He was not going to put another quarterback on the field to start. He wants Shapen on there. They have a really good bond, really good chemistry, and they just have a great working relationship. So I think that Lebby really wanted Shapen on the field. So I think that was important to him, and you can see their team camaraderie and just the chemistry from them. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what Jeff Lebby does moving forward in his career as well.
One of the big things that every rivalry does, it kind of highlights where you are as compared to where your neighbors are. Auburn does this with Alabama, South Carolina, and Clemson, Texas and Oklahoma. As Mississippi State fans watch Ole Miss and watch Lane Kiffin and watch what they're doing, do you sense that there's any kind of comparison to where Kiffin was in year 2 and building to that trajectory? Or is it, hey, let's just stay in our own lane? We know Coach Lebby, obviously had a rough year last year, building this year. What's that dynamic like as you look across the border and see your boys there in Oxford having, a top 5 team?
I think ultimately people have a lot more faith in Ole Miss, and I get why they would. They have a lot more faith on the football field. They have a little bit more faith in Lane Kiffin. I think Jeff Lebby has more so of something to prove this year. It's like you've got to have a comeback year from last year. Lane Kiffin had a pretty successful season last year. He has a great start so far. So I think people have more faith. They expect Ole Miss to win. Mississippi State, it's still up in the air. We're starting to see some of those comeback moments, and we're seeing those expectations rise as fans get more excited for these matchups. But he still has stuff to prove, and as Kiffin, I would say, has already kind of made his mark in Mississippi.
Mississippi State will play at Texas A&M. Then they're going to have the bye. When they come back from the bye, they'll go to Gainesville to play a Florida team that's on life alert. life supports, life whatever you want to call it, the button they got to push because they're about to fall, and have a problem. And then they're going to be home against Texas. There's, the SEC, there's never really good, gimme, easy games. And it's Arkansas, Georgia. I mean, you sit here and you go, okay, well, this should be, but is it? There's no should be, could be, anything when it comes to wins and losses in the SEC. How big of an opportunity is this for Mississippi State to go on the road before going into the bye? It always feels better to go have a little bit of a break after a win than it is after a loss. How much will this just help the trajectory of this program as they kind of shift into the second half of the year, which, by the way, I can't believe I'm saying the second half of the year. How has this already gone by so fast? This is crazy.
No, absolutely. I think this can be a great way for Mississippi State to mentally reset and to just take their time and focus on those small details. But I think ultimately we're going to have to see, because the games that you think should be easy, you think that they're not going to win. Even the games you didn't expect them to win. I don't think many people expected Mississippi State to play a game like they did against Tennessee. You never know what's going to happen in SEC play, and there's just a lot to prove for these teams, but they're not going up against easy teams anymore. Like, there's no more easy teams on the list, so they've got to really step it up.
No doubt about it. Camden Morris, appreciate your time, ma'am, joining us from Jackson, Mississippi, our affiliate there, WJTV. Thanks so much, lady, and we will certainly keep up with you over the next couple of weeks as the SEC slate rolls on.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. Camden Morris, great insight, no question, and a big opportunity for Jeff Lebby and the State Bulldogs.
A huge opportunity, but I think Camden said it right. I mean, they have to kind of manage their expectations. This is going to be a hard game to win, and some easier ones against Florida and Arkansas that can pick off, but Saturday will be difficult, but they've laid some really solid bricks going into Week 6.
Listen, you never know. I know you're sitting. There's somebody on this program said that Mississippi State get a win this weekend.
I mean, he's living on faith.
It's going to happen. It is going to happen.
I didn't know if he was going to pop himself up. He controls that, and I was like, is he going to? Because I'm not going to own that comment. He's going to own.
I'm owning it.
Okay.
Well,
I look forward to texting you. I look forward to texting you on Saturday.
Stand on something or stand on nothing.
You know what? That I agree with. Fran Brown.
I think a cover is a win for Mississippi State in this game, but I do expect them to get a.
What's the line? What is it?
16.5.
That's strong.
Yeah, it was started at 13.
It got stronger.
It did.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick break here on Southeast Sports Plus. Plenty more guests, several more SEC topics to get to here in just a couple minutes. Stay with us. Southeast Sports Plus rolling right along here on this Thursday afternoon as we gear up for week 6 of the college football season. A lot to chat about. Of course, last weekend, one of the better college football weekends that I can remember, just in terms of games, what to sit back, and you got several monitors there in your living room, or at least I did. One of them, of course, was on what was going on there in Athens with the big game between Georgia and Alabama. The Crimson Tide able to hold off the Bulldogs on the road. Without further ado, I want to bring in our guy, Jack Patterson, holding it down as he always does there in Columbus, Georgia. Jack, I know you cover Georgia, Auburn, all things SEC, kind of balance several different states and different leagues, conferences. But talking the Bulldogs right now in that game from last weekend, one, how kind of historic was it for the Bulldogs to lose at home for the first time in nearly 6 years after a streak that was kind of unprecedented?
Put it to you this way, Simone, okay? So two ways. First, you mentioned the streak, 33 games, okay? The last time they had lost was against South Carolina back in 2019, okay? But personally, I've been covering college football here now for 10 years, okay? And that was only the second time I've ever seen Georgia lose at home.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
The other time was the Dobb nail boot, the Josh Dobbs and Jawan Jennings, Tennessee in 2016. So, like, Georgia losing at Sanford Stadium just doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. And it was it's a major feather in the cap for Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, and honestly, when you look at that, the scenics there, you could feel it on TV. Of course, I was just watching it, from my house here in the Mobile area, and you could just tell, you got the chills of just the atmosphere, Jack. I've been there. I was at the Auburn game a few years ago, and it's very, very tough place to play. I think that it's underrated. It's even harder to play, obviously, when you're playing at home and at night, no less. What did you take away from that game, and how do you feel like the team is looking to bounce back? What is the messaging you're hearing from Kirby Smart, from this veteran Bulldogs team that has won national championship? I mean, they're not an up-and-comer. I mean, Georgia is a college football playoff or bust program.
So I'll kind of tackle that. So first, the atmosphere on Saturday night was unreal, okay? There were several points during the game where the camera was shaking in my hand.
That's awesome.
Okay, the camera was vibrating in my hand from how loud the stadium was.
That's incredible. You can tell.
Like it was an incredible atmosphere, and it just goes, more kudos to Alabama for what they did. Okay, because it's just not easy. It's not easy winning at Sanford Stadium, period. But to do it at night is something that you can really hang your hat on, and I think can be a turnaround point for them. As for Georgia, Kirby Smart has said that, the players have, felt this loss, okay? They've felt it. He described it as, them being hurt. And is that, said that when it's really unique to see them, how they're reacting when they're hurt.
Yeah.
Because you see their motivations, you see how much they care about what they're doing. And he says that, that's kind of been the statement at practice this week is, everybody's motivated to not let that happen again. And, because let's be clear about it. This was a very winnable game for Georgia, okay? I think it was a very winnable game, and they made some uncharacteristic mistakes, and that ended up costing them the game. So, it's definitely a shock to the system, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think it's the opportunity where if it's going to happen, it's a good thing it happens now and not later in the year when you got Ole Miss and Texas coming in, or, when you're getting ready, trying to make a run to the playoff or the SEC championship, whatever the case might be. You can fix things now, whereas, you still got 2 months of the season left. Whereas down the line, you have less opportunities to, fix something if you were to fall short again.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll bring up what I think is a kind of a lazy argument, but it's worth talking about for a second. People in the NFL do this with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Like, Lamar's unbelievable. MVP, and rightfully so. He just can't seem to beat Patrick Mahomes. Kirby Smart's won national championships, but for some reason, Alabama is just that team. Do you think that there is something there when the Crimson Tide is on the other sideline? Because, we have a pretty large sample size here. Or is it just, hey, on those 2 Saturdays against Kalen DeBoer and the many Saturdays against Nick Saban, he just did not have his A game?
Gerhard.
Be honest, Jack. Be honest, Jack.
Well, I'm going to be honest. Okay? I don't sit here and think that it's a mental thing, okay? Because in the vast majority of those games, it has been a dogfight. No pun intended here.
Sure.
Okay, it's been a slugfest between both of those teams. It just so happens that there's a play or two that sends things to Ty's way. Okay,
just
Georgia
happens.
Did Georgia play terrible on Saturday? No. Did they play, A+ ball? No. They made mistakes. They had, that couple of fourth downs to where they should have gotten it and didn't get it. The crazy penalty that they had, that extended drives for Alabama, not being able to get off the field on third down. Like I said, it's not that they're playing terrible, but they weren't playing at their best. Okay? The only time we've seen them play at their best is the national championship game in Indianapolis. So, like I said, a lot of times these games come down to one or two things that separate the two teams.
And I'll tell you what that one or two things are. Because we're not talking about the team here. We're talking about Kirby Smart. This guy, and listen, I'm a noted Kirby Smart critiquer. But I'm telling you right now, there are no moments I have seen him more disheveled, more that his visor and his headset cannot fit on his head at the same time together than when he is playing the freaking Crimson A on the other side. This guy looks so disheveled every single time. The script A is on the other side. He cannot handle the moment. I don't know if it is I thought it was a Saban thing. I swear I thought it was a Saban thing. I'm like, this is Saban. And then Saban retired. And then we had last year. And I'm like, this year, man, Bam is down. This is at Georgia. This is at Georgia. 6 years, Jack. 6 years, Jack.
And the only reason why I was asking you is because
I was going to ask. I was so mad that you already asked, quite frankly, because I wanted to ask, and so I'm mad that you asked. Because I was ready to ask, and I was like, dang it, Gerhard, where are you going with this?
And sometimes I think, though, too, and I think with Lamar Jackson, you just think he's at some point he's going to be
Patrick
Mahomes.
You know what we like to call this? It's called always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's what we call that in life as women. So this is what he is. That he's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And here's the deal. I know the guy's won a couple national championships, and that made him feel like but he was the guy for a minute, back-to-back, right? Then they weren't in the playoffs. You're like, okay, is there a drop-off, or is there an issue with the system? I mean, there was an argument that they should have been there, and then that playoff, I get it. Okay, that's great. And I take all of that stuff off the table. Alabama, as his former employer, does something to this man mentally that could honestly be dissected. There is documentation that could be made about this thing. There's a therapy session that could be involved in what it is that this guy goes through mentally. Make no mistake, it's mental when the script A is on the other side. It is so obvious.
And I think the reason why I'm asking you is because it's not that they're bad in close games. I mean, they took a miracle last year to beat Kentucky 13-12. They went to Knoxville, played terribly for a half, ended up finding a way to win that game 44-41. So it's like they've won close games. It's just like it feels like when that school's on the other sideline, they falter.
They can't close the deal. Yeah. They can't close the deal.
I mean, Jack, tell me this. Does it seem like, because I don't listen to Kirby every time he wins or loses a game. You've seen some losses, not many, but because they won a lot of games. But when he loses to Alabama, is there a different feel? Like, and let's be honest about it, because I know that you love the Bulldogs. You watch you cover the Bulldogs, and that's just inherently as reporters, you start to just build relationships with people. So naturally, you just want to see these guys, these teams, these coaches do well. You don't really get involved in really hey, that I love this program necessarily, but you want to see these guys do well. So you can get a read. Does it seem like Kirby Smart just has an added disappointment, an added this one just really hurts when it is Alabama on the other sideline?
I don't know if disappointment's the word, Simone. I think it's more frustration.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's frustration because I feel like he knows his team can be better than what it showed on the field. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're right. I've seen a couple of times. I covered the SEC championship. The infamous Jalen Hurts taking over for Tua Tagovailoa. I was there for that SEC championship, and I heard him in the press conference after that. And, I heard him, last night.
That was one to remember for sure.
Last Saturday. Yeah, Jalen Hurts scored that touchdown. I was in that end zone.
Bro, that was, I think I was sitting right next to you, to be honest with you. That was unbelievable. That was unbelievable.
But the thing is I don't think it's disappointment. I think it's frustration.
Okay? If I were him, I'd be frustrated too. I would be too with myself.
Because he holds his team to such a high standard that, when you have those moments elapse and it costs you the game, I think that's the kicker. And I think that, is not disappointment, it's frustration that he knows his team can be better.
Absolutely.
And like I said, he holds them to such a high standard, at every turn. So to be able to not being able to get the job done, like it definitely, it's a thorn in the side. That much I can tell you.
And I would think that
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I would think that there'd be no worse team to play right now than the Georgia Bulldogs, very angry football team as Kentucky comes in. However, last year this was a 1-point game, 13-12. What's the messaging this time around? As you mentioned, his team angry this past week, being able to handle those emotions and then go out and execute against the team, playing for their coach there in Mark Stoops, who's essentially playing for his job this year.
The one thing I've heard from Coach Smart and the players is that you cannot underestimate this Kentucky squad. Okay. And a lot of people are they're saying, Georgia's going to win by 1 billion. Okay. And, basically Coach Smart has been trying to do his best to not get his players to buy into that, that they need to do their job. Okay. Because, he made it simple that you can't let the Alabama loss beat you twice. Okay. And what he meant by that is you can't be so hung up on the loss to Alabama that it impacts your play against Kentucky, because he's said it once, he said it 1,000 times. Anybody in the SEC can beat anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We saw last week, a lot of people thought Mississippi State, not really a great team. Well, they almost win the Neyland and beat Tennessee. Okay. So anybody in this league can beat anybody, and you can't take anybody for granted. And that's what Kirby Smart has been preaching to his guys, and that's what the players have been saying, that's their main focus. Like, hey, listen, Alabama game is done and over. Okay, ain't nothing you can do about it.
He's saying that to himself too. To the guys, and to himself.
Agreed.
So they don't get beat twice on the field or in the coaching staff.
But you can't let that game beat you twice. Okay, because it's one thing if you lose to an Alabama team. Well, let's just be real. Alabama had their season to play for on Saturday night. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because
two losses and you put on ice. 2 losses and your playoff opportunity starts to get questioned. There's no doubt about that. I think we did hear from. Do we have? We heard from Kirby. Let's take some of that Kirby sound here. What he had to say as they gear up for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Man, it's amazing. Mark's one of my close friends. We've grown because we've been in it the longest together, and he's been in it longer than me. And I text him all the time. It's just really amazing what he's done at Kentucky, and it's one of those things that I hope they appreciate what he's done, because he's done some incredible things, broken some records up there, been extremely competitive in our league, and that's not necessarily by record. I mean, it is by record sometimes, but the games that he's been in and the way they've played is incredible. You can tell he inspires his team to play extremely hard, and they're always physical. So I just have so much respect for Mark because of I know his history. We kind of grew up the same way. Coach's son, defense coordinator, been some good places, got a head job, and he's worked his tail off.
Hearing that adoration there, Jack, makes me think that when Mark Stoops gets let go eventually in Kentucky, he's about to be a defensive analyst in Georgia.
Wouldn't surprise me, okay? Wouldn't surprise me.
Take your buyout money and go help us in the team meetings.
But seriously, that's not the first time that Kirby Smart has, talked glowingly of Mark Stoops. It's not the first time this year. It's not the first time in his tenure at Georgia, okay? Yep. He's always held Coach Stoops in high regard. There's always been a mutual respect between the two coaches. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And Gerhard, it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case, okay? It would not surprise me.
Jack, one thing that we were able to see from Georgia against Alabama is that ground game. I was sitting there thinking, man, they were one run away. Why didn't run the ball on that 4th down plays? I will never understand. But they were one run away from running away with this game. Certainly the opportunity was there. Posted more than 200 rushing yards, and some of those just came in huge, big bulk plays. How big of a impact is this ground game, and how do you think that this program can just really take advantage of that moving forward? Of course, Gunnar Stockton is great in his own right, but to be able to have some threat there in the backfield, how important is that, Jack?
Well, Simone, Georgia's, cranked out running backs left, right, and center for, a decade at this point, okay? Sure. And this going into this year, it was kind of, a question mark for the first time in forever. Okay. But when you see guys like Chauncey Bowens having a breakout game, when, Dwight Phillips, Josh McCray, when you see these guys starting to come into their own, like that is a big, big deal. Okay. And, I'm really excited to see where that running back room goes, because there had been a drop off. A lot of people haven't, would the casual fan wouldn't know this, but Dell McGee, who was one of Kirby's assistants, he was over that running back room. Dell McGee is a Columbus product, so I have, plenty of knowledge about him. He was over that running back room, and he was a big reason why Georgia has had so much success in their ground game over the last decade. Well, he took the job at Georgia State a couple years ago, and there had been a drop-off. But now you're starting to see that running back room come back together. That's what you wanted to see. And now you've got a group of backs that you can start to depend on now. Chauncey Bowens had a phenomenal game on Saturday night against the Tide. And, Josh McCray, of course, he had the game-winning touchdown against Tennessee a few weeks back. So, you're starting to be able to trust those guys. And now that combination plus the receivers that they got in the room now, I really do think that the offense is kind of starting to set up the way that they need it to.
Sure.
And that's good now. Get it set up now, because once you get past this week, business really starts to pick up. Okay, because you got the road trip down here to Auburn for the D South Oldest rivalry next Saturday night, and Simone, just as well as anybody that
that's a
weird
wild
things
game.
go on
Auburn comes by, you just never know. Weird things happen when Auburn Jesus gets involved, but that's what we know for fact, Georgia.
And it's a night game on top of that. So weird things happen, and then on top of that, like I said earlier, you still got Ole Miss, you still got Texas, and oh, by the way, that game against Georgia Tech ain't a pushover no more. Tech's good, and it's gonna be a showdown in Mercedes-Benz Stadium at the end of the month, at the end of November, I should say.
Can't wait.
It's a really good time for that running back room to really start to come into his own.
Jack Patterson joining us from Columbus. Appreciate all of your insight as always, Jack. Not sure where you got that rotating Georgia helmet, but I can't wait to have one delivered here to Mobile. Whatever hookup you have, I would like to have at least one of those for every single conference.
Thank my grandma for that. That is a Christmas present.
Grandma. Okay, well, I'm going to text my grandma and tell her I would like one of those. Or at least I would actually like all 16 strong here in the studio, and I would like them to be rotating the entire show. So Jack Patterson holding down from WRBL there in Columbus. Georgia, appreciate your time, sir, and we will check back in with you next week.
Appreciate it, y'all.
All right, good stuff. Jack, rotating helmets. The guys, he's the jack of many trades, as he said. So no doubt about that. He knows all things Georgia, Auburn, and everything that's happening over there east of us. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break here on Southeast Sports Plus. We'll have much more in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us. wrapping up first hour of Southeast Sports Plus on this Thursday. It's my first day being back on the desk with you guys, and man, I'm not sure if you're like this chick and her hate for Kirby Smart was just too much for your first day back, or like just coming in hot, wouldn't expect anything less, or what. But
we need a show within the show, because during the breaks we do the psychological breakdown of Simone's faces. All you have to do is bring up Kirby Smart's name.
I swear, I literally I watch myself back and I'm like, people are going to think I am not kind, because my face sometimes is so telling. There's no poker face. I could not be I couldn't sit here and play poker. I'd be like, what? I mean, I can't help it. But Kirby Smart, not being mental.
I realized it with Ryan Day. I didn't know what it was.
He's really triggering right now, Patrick. I mean, this guy
we got a
right
really
here,
good football team.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man, listen.
I love my quarterback.
Yeah, him, Kirby. Man, they're just different breeds, bro. They're just different breeds. We've got a lot to get to over the next hour. We're going to check in with our guy Holden Cruzmark, Oklahoma City, as well as Noah Gross in Austin. We'll have that over the next hour here on Southeast Sports.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
Hour number 2, and guys, another week in the NFL season, going to roll right along. As we know, several guys in the Southeastern Conference, formerly in the Southeastern Conference, go on to do big, bad things. And how about this? Mac Jones going to get the start for the 49ers. Thoughts on that one, G? Because, man, I feel like he's lived like 100,000 different lives. Not only did he do that at Alabama, then he went into the league, and that was a whole thing.
Yeah, his rookie year was with the Patriots, and then it faltered off because him and Bill Belichick had a little friction because he obviously...
Because Mac Jones had friction with himself. I mean, that guy was like just kicking stuff, and he was mad. I was just mad,
He couldn't handle his emotions, but apparently, reportedly, he sought other advice outside the building.
I thought you were going to say something else.
And then Bill Belichick got upset.
I thought you were going to say something else. Go ahead.
He goes to Jacksonville, has a decent run. But what's really interesting here, Simone, is the fact that he's playing for Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy just signed a huge $265 million deal in the offseason. There's a lot of reasons for San Fran to keep Brock Purdy and to keep him happy. However, Mac Jones has been pretty solid in the first two games he's played so far this year. Has a quarterback rating 98.1 out of 100, 500-something yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. This could be a audition, so to speak. They play the Rams tonight. The Rams have a really good defense. This could be kind of an audition, in my opinion, for a guy that is, basically had to try out a little bit in the last couple of years. He has talent, obviously, but go get a big deal with somebody else.
I don't want to rain on his parade, but is this more of Kyle Shanahan's offense setting QBs up for success, or is it actually Mac Jones being Mac Jones?
Then if that's the case, why would you sign Brock Purdy to the deal that they signed him to? If Brock Purdy is a product of the system, then why would you sign Brock Purdy to a $265 million deal? Unless you think Kyle Shanahan's the guy, then you can just go get average quarterbacks and go plug and play. And people say, well, he kind of did that. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo and C.J. Beathard and all these guys that had to come in. But in the NFL, it's usually who has the players. Sure. And in this weird system, it's like, hey, who has the system?
I still think you have to have the right guy to fit the system, though. That's one thing about coaching is that, you go look at it at different levels. Obviously, you can start recruiting and getting guys that you want, at least legally, in college. Not so much when you're actually at the high school level. But regardless, in the NFL, you can certainly get guys who fit your system, even if they are average. And you have a coach who is this wizard, so to speak, right? And what he's able to do with offensive play calling. So I agree with you, no question, that, hey, when you get a guy who can fit your system, whether average or not, he can be above average. I still think that Mac Jones has proven himself to be more of a backup plan than maybe a franchise-leading type of signal caller.
Right, but backup plan in San Francisco. Maybe does that parlay itself to maybe the starting job in, let's just say, who needs a quarterback?
That's a good point.
So if you're saying an audition for someone else, then absolutely. I didn't know if you meant auditioned there, which, of course, when you spend that type of money, there's no audition available. They might plug and play if you're a minute, but there's no, unless there's an open spot because of an injury, then you're going to be the backup.
Don't look past Sam Darnold and what he did a few years ago. Revitalized his career in Minnesota after learning under Kyle Shanahan. But, I think it's going to be interesting tonight because there's no Ricky Pearsall and there's no Jawan Jennings. So who is Mac Jones going to get the ball to?
Who's he going to throw it to? Yeah, it is going to be interesting. And this San Francisco team, I think the injuries are going to plague them, and I don't think they're going to make a run for the Super Bowl, mainly because they can't keep anybody healthy, mainly Brock Purdy. But this is a really interesting game here, I think, in my opinion, for Mac Jones, because he can make himself a lot of money with another strong start to the season. Maybe not in San Francisco, maybe somewhere else. There's
several teams in the league that are kind of like this pipeline of SEC talent. Now, SEC talent obviously owns, as we know, down here covering the Senior Bowl. So many guys from the SEC are there playing at the Senior Bowl, and then they go on to the league, do big things because the conference is as great as it is when it comes to talent-ridden guys. But sometimes you just look at some teams specifically, and there's just coaching staffs that are like, hey, this is who we're going to draft. They're in a system that's similar to our system, or these are coaches that were in the NFL. Look no further than Nick Saban. Look at the Eagles. There's some more Alabama guys on that roster than there are Alabama guys on Alabama's roster from the transfer portal. It's insane. Yes. So, but if you look, I think Patrick put together some notes on some guys that we will see from the SEC. Gerhard, give us a breakdown of who these guys are who will be on the field going into Thursday's game.
Yeah, a ton of former SEC players all over the field. But like you said, there's some personnel guys in the NFL that say that the NFL really has 3 conferences, not 2 conferences. There's the AFC, there's the NFC, and there's the SEC. Those are the 3 conferences. But you just take a look at the Eagles lineup. You have, it's basically Alabama, Georgia. And coming up tonight, San Fran's got Mac Mac Jones, Brian Robinson Jr., who obviously played at Alabama, DeMarcus Robinson, who played at Florida, Jordan Watkins, who played at Ole Miss, and Trent Williams, probably the best offensive lineman in the history of the game, former Oklahoma star. Meanwhile, on the other sideline, we will have Robert Beal Jr., he played at Georgia. Mykel Williams also played at Georgia. Alfred Collins. For the Texas Longhorns, Jordan Elliott and Eddie Perino. In my opinion, like the SEC, there's certain franchises, like you said, certain GMs, that will almost take guys off their board if they don't play against a bunch of power fours.
I'm not in those rooms.
Yeah.
But I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. And I think that in all of our time talking to Jim Nagy, who is the longtime Senior Bowl executive director and now is the GM of the Oklahoma Sooners, he kind of could judge talent based on who it was these guys were playing. 200 rushing yards per game in, I don't know, the ACC was not exactly 200 rushing yards.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
That was a very pointed
pause.
That was a very pointed pause.
Was that obvious?
Oh, yeah.
Was that obvious?
This is another one of the things in the brink we will roll back. In the ACC, pause. Head look over. They say you're
right at my direction.
They say your nose points to who you're talking to.
Yes.
She was talking to me until she said ACC. She pointed the nose over there, like ACC.
Is that something you learn in like public speaking course or something like that? Like ACC, nose over here. I love that. It's actually really funny. To be honest though, I do think that, and the point remains, that whatever you do, whatever your stats look like in college ball, it is an amplified. I guess stat when it is in the SEC. Whatever that could be, so whatever you've done it. I mean, quarterback's a different kind of position, but most specifically, when you're having to deal with guys in the trenches, when you're having like at running back, for instance, and you are going up against an SEC defensive line. Now we're seeing more and more parity, so we're talking traditionally, and I'm sure we will see it just as things are changing in college. Then the trickle down effect happens, or trickle up effect happens, and just like with every single thing else. So I'm sure the more widespread it becomes, the more we're going to see. Hey, okay, GMs be more open to picking up guys in the draft or what have you from different parts. But make no mistake. They probably came from an SEC school originally. I mean, they probably moved around 7 times to get over there, but you know how that goes.
Exactly. So. Former Alabama defensive star Patrick Surtain, who plays with the Denver Broncos, who just won Defensive Player of the Year. I think he put it perfectly. He was talking about Nick Saban's program. He's like, hey, what made us good in the pros? Yes, Saturdays, because of course you're playing against Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee and other professional players, but also practice, but also your day-to-day.
Dude, yeah.
Just what your day looks like. Your Tuesday looks like what a Wednesday in the NFL would look like. The practice structure is the same and everything else. So they almost like mold you into being a professional athlete while you're there at school, which you don't get in a lot of other conferences.
And, I mean, it was not that he doesn't do it nearly as strong as I do. It's a feminine trait just to be able to like say something and just make it so pointed and directed. There was a year, I can't remember what year it was, that Nick Saban had, I don't know, more. I think it was over half a dozen. I think it was 8 something first round picks. I mean, it was stupid. I mean, that might have been trickling into the second round a little bit, but it was one of those last years, sometime in the last, I don't know if it was 2020 year, somewhere like thereabouts.
2-3 years ago. Where
was that the Mac Jones year?
Of the top, I think it was like it was because the year they won the national championship, and it was like of the top 50 players, top 45 players, 7 or 8. It
was strong. Yeah. It was really, really strong. We heard from Mac Jones as he is getting this opportunity there to get the start on Thursday night football action. Let's take a listen to the former Alabama quarterback.
Really, just like I talked about, just day by day getting better. And at the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself if you can protect yourself in the game. And felt good to go. So obviously every week guys are dealing with stuff, and it's an everyday battle. So you're just working through it. I've had a few of these Thursday night deals before, and it happens fast, so that's all I know, and really you just got to stick to your rules, and it's a quick week. You kind of just go out there and, like fall camp, you just play the game, and each day is a new practice during fall camp, so that's kind of how we view it. It's very quick, and turnaround's quick, so that's how I'm approaching it. Obviously you watch and get as much in as you can, but like I said, you kind of go out there and just play ball. But they're really good. They're, in my opinion, the number 1 defense in the NFL after watching them. I know statistically they're pretty high, but I'm really been impressed with them. So it's going to be a huge challenge, and they do a lot of good stuff.
used to call him McEnroe Jones because he reminded people of John McEnroe, who used to go ballistic on the tennis courts.
Yeah, when I watched that a minute ago, I was like, he looks a lot more put together. He just, I don't know. Sometimes you just got to go hit enough, I guess, maybe to get it knocked in your brain. Like you got to chill out a little bit. Take 20% off the top.
And I think it's when it's Shanahan's offense, kind of alluding to what Patrick said, it's a quarterback-friendly offense. You don't feel like you have to pull everybody. You feel like you can just play within the system.
And sometimes you just have to have the right coaching and just handling, so to speak. You know, I mean, he was handled at Alabama, and sometimes if you aren't getting handled and you're a guy who's not ready to not be handled, then shoot, you got to reel it in a little bit because you can't figure it out yourself.
Yep, and an SEC quarterback on the other sideline as well, Matt Stafford. Former guy went to Georgia. I know it feels like a million years ago.
Okay, time the heck out. So I literally, when it had to go so far back in my brain
I know.
to even think about where it was that he played college football, to be honest with you, I was like, wait a minute, what? Because I think former, I don't know, like somewhere in the NFL, Lions quarterback, Matt Stafford. I'm not sitting here going former Georgia quarterback Matt Stafford. I was like, in diapers at that point?
Played in those dog days whenever they had Mark Richt, and it was like 12-2, 8-4. 12-2, 8-4.
What year was that? Oh my God, that was a minute ago.
Yeah, he's had a whole career in Detroit, a whole career in LA since then. But no, this was forever ago. I remember.
I mean, he's only 37. Like I'm acting like the guy. I'm acting like he's 54. That's ugly. That is ugly. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, okay, he did. It was 2006.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That is a minute ago.
Yeah, it was a long time.
That
ago.
That was almost 20 years ago.
17th season in the league. Whew.
Wow.
But 30-9 at Georgia. And I guess because this was when Georgia was still Georgia.
I forgot how good the Mark Richt days were. I mean, they really were too.
They were good, but they never got over the hump. It's that Clemson effect. They just never won that championship, and so they got sick of it.
Yep.
Fired him. Now they got Kirby. Got a championship. And got some Simone.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, that comes regularly dished over there to the folks in Athens. I can promise you that. But most specifically, Kirby. Let's take a listen to quarterback Stafford here on this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick turnaround for us. We're playing again on Thursday in a few days, so sure nice to come away with this one in a win. It's a really good football team we just played. Physical on both sides of the line of scrimmage. You look at their skill position guys who they got at running back and receiver. Daniel's playing great and tight end, so. Big challenge for our defense. I thought they played great, and then we struggled there a little bit, but found some good momentum late and were able to win it. So definitely nice when you got a quick game turnaround. So we'll take it. Yeah, it's tough. It gets tougher and tougher for me every year, but we'll do a great job of turning the bodies over. I guess maybe the one positive for us is we're in division, so we kind of know a decent amount of these guys, right, and what they're kind of about. So it's not, some opponent we rarely ever play or ever see, and you got to really deep dive and learn, everything there is to learn. So that part of it is good. But yeah, I mean, I just think Thursday practice when I jog out onto the field, like sometimes how you feel going out to that, and you're like, gonna have to do that for game day. But adrenaline's a hell of a thing, so we'll be all right.
There are several GMs, we mentioned it earlier, that pull out of the SEC. We talked about the Philadelphia Eagles. The LA Rams are definitely one of those teams, whether it was like Matt Stafford, like he goes back old school, or some of the new school guys. Let's take a look at the guys that'll be on the sidelines representing the SEC for the LA Rams. Jordan Whittington out of Texas, Bo Limmer, DJ Humphries, Warren McClendon Jr., Poona Ford, Omar Speets, Byron Young, former Tennessee standout, excellent season last year, Trey Brown out of Oklahoma, Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State, Cam Curl out of Arkansas, and Jalen McCullough out of Tennessee. Lots of guys there out of the SEC playing. If I were to handpick one franchise I want to play for, it might be the LA Rams.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Outside of your taxes, because you're paying a lot of money in taxes right now, that team just seems so balanced. I mean, offensively they're really strong. Defensively they're really strong. There's a really, really good team. And right now that division is winnable.
I would like to play for Vrabel with the Titans.
They said Vrabel now.
Nope. I don't want to play for the Patriots. I want to play for the Patriots. I want to play for Vrabel with the Titans.
So you could be in Nashville. I get. You know what? I kind of get it.
I like Coach Vrabel. I like defensive coaches.
I know you like Coach Vrabel.
I like defensive coaches
for many reasons. But then also you like Nashville.
He's just a gritty guy. He just gets after it, man. I was watching his linebacker coach when I was in Houston, man. It was like, I don't know. He was just the fire. Because I can tell you, Bill O'Brien was not the fire.
What do they say?
He was fired. He was not the fire, though.
What do they say? First guy in, last guy out type of guy.
Yeah, he is. I like that. I like that mentality. Yeah. So, well, speaking of first guy in, last guy out, there's no one in Next Star Nation outside the three of us here that could sit at this table and have that than holding the cruise mark. And we're gonna go over there to Oklahoma City here in just a minute, take a quick break, and then check in with our guy holding it down with the Sooners. That's just a couple minutes away. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. Continuing on here, hour number 2, we check in with our good buddy Holden Kruzmark, who was very busy last week with the John Mateer news and the Mike Gundy news. Have you been able to catch your breath this week, Holden?
And then we also had Thunder Media Day on Monday.
Oh,
so,
wow.
No,
can't miss that.
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to sneak a day off in there, but we're back here on the grind and got some more high school football to go to tonight and tomorrow, and then we'll be at in Norman on Saturday.
Wow, so it just never stops. It never does stop.
No.
Thankfully, this week for the Sooners, there is a bit of an easier team coming in town. But let's just go back to last week for a moment. And after everything that happened with John Mateer, and there was a lot of, obviously, talk nationwide about what this does not only to Oklahoma, but what this does to the offense, what this does to Oklahoma's chances moving forward. How do you think that the team handled the last week, knowing that their signal caller was going to be benched for a while?
I think they handled it pretty well. I mean, you had a kind of a week to kind of, recover from the news, I guess, so to speak, and, really kind of focus in on getting Michael Hawkins ready to go. And, like we said, it's kind of an easier opponent. It may be one of the easier opponents that you can have. I think Kent State's pretty down there in terms of the rankings of teams you could play. So I think that, they're feeling pretty good, all things considered. The team had really kind of rallied behind Mateer ever since he got to Norman last, or I guess this winter. And it's a little bit of a shock, but, they've got a pretty capable backup quarterback. I think they have one of the better backup quarterback situations in the country. Mm-hmm. We mentioned Mike Gundy earlier. OSU had a has seemed to have a pretty rough backup quarterback situation, considering their starter got hurt and then they lost by 66 in Oregon. So,
right.
I think Michael Hawkins is about as good as backup as you can have, and I think it was really important they were able to keep him this past off season. And part of that was because he said he wants to be here. He wants to be the quarterback at Oklahoma, and he's been open to getting some more instruction and learning from guys like Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, guys that have really shown themselves on the college football stage. And that's kind of what he's been doing all this season is kind of taking those mental reps during the first few games, and he's been prepared. He says he's been preparing like he's going to be the starter all season, and now he is going to be the starter. Funny note here, maybe not funny, I don't know, but it was this week last year when he took over as the OU starting quarterback. After Jackson Arnold got benched at the Tennessee game. It was game number 5 that Michael Hawkins took the field for the first time, and he beat the Auburn Tigers on the road. Right. And you thought, hey, this could be pretty good, and then they played Texas and they scored 3 points. So I think he's a better version of himself from last year, and I mean certainly the coaches and the rest of his teammates have been saying that as well.
You literally read my brain, Holden, because I was just thinking that Auburn was going through a slump at the time. Jackson Arnold was going through a slump at the time. We got the news before the Auburn game that Hawkins was going to start. So from backup to starter, back to backup, now back to starter. What do you think that Michael Hawkins Jr. has learned in this process to make it to where it's not just a one-game flash in the pan like it was at Auburn last year, that he can sustain it moving forward as his team tries to stay in the top 10?
I think one of the things is I think he's probably a better passer. And that was kind of one of the things last year coming out of high school as a true freshman. He had the wheels. He might be one of the fastest quarterbacks in college football. And I think that was kind of his what he tried to rely a little bit too much on last year when he was playing, was just to try and tuck it. I mean, he had that, 48-yard touchdown run against Auburn. He looked pretty good then. I think he is maybe gotten a little more comfortable just having a quarterback coach. That was one of the things that OU didn't really have last year when they promoted Seth Luttrell to offensive coordinator. He wasn't a quarterback's guy. And so they didn't really have a specific quarterback coach last year that could really help out. They, oh man, I'm blanking on his Kevin Johns. They had him, but he was kind of more of an analyst coach, I believe. And so, he was there helping out, but they had the whole jumbled up thing. Luttrell gets fired midway through the season. That really messes up a quarterback. I think Arbuckle and, Arbuckle brought with him from Washington State this guy, Coach Coos. I cannot begin to try to pronounce his actual last name. That's what they call him, is Coach Coos, and that's what I'm going to call him because I don't want to try to butcher that. But I think he's getting a lot better instruction this year. And two guys that, are really kind of helping him out, and John Mateer, who's been there. Mateer was in the same situation as Hawkins. He was the backup to Cam Ward at Washington State before Cam Ward left and went to Miami. So, Mateer's been in those kind of shoes before. So it seems like he's been really kind of a help for Hawkins, and it seems like he's going to be a help for Hawkins as they continue to move forward until he gets until Mateer's able to return from that hand surgery, the thumb surgery.
Holden, the last time Michael Hawkins made a start for the Sooners was in their bowl game last year, and he threw for 247 and 2 touchdowns. What did you make of that game? Obviously, I did not watch that game, but it was obviously a season that Oklahoma fans would want to forget. What did you make from that game, and then how can you see Hawkins progress as he starts to make these few starts?
Yeah, I mean, it's never good when you lose to Navy in a bowl game if you're a program like Oklahoma. But given the circumstances, I don't know that too many people were expecting too much, considering that they had fired their offensive coordinator. At the time, they had already hired Ben Arbuckle, so he had actually kind of coached with the team for, I think, a week or two leading up to the Navy bowl game. So Hawkins did get familiar with Ben Arbuckle back then, and that kind of, sparked, I guess, the relationship between the two. Just kind of, I think that was maybe part of the key to keeping Hawkins in Norman, was just the fact that he got a kind of up-close look at Ben Arbuckle before he made a decision about whether he would enter the transfer portal or not. And so that probably, helped keep him there. I think it was kind of a good start for Hawkins. It didn't seem like he relied as much on his legs. And I think one of the things too that, maybe hampered Hawkins when he started last year was the fact that Jackson Arnold was turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why he got to be in at quarterback, is because they didn't want somebody turning the ball over all the time, because you had this really good defense. But when the quarterback keeps turning the ball over, it doesn't really help you win games. And so I think Hawkins got a little scared to try and, make plays with his arm and stuff like that. We saw it a lot in the Texas game where he would end up just, trying to buy some time, and he just wasn't confident. Well, for one, they didn't really have they had a banged-up O-line. They had a banged-up wide receiver room, so you didn't have a lot of great options to either block for you or try to catch the passes. And he would just end up throwing the ball away a lot. And it was very frustrating as someone sitting there watching it, because, you want action to be going on, and it'd be a fourth down, and he'd just throw the ball out of bounds, and you're like, just try to do something, man.
Yeah,
like, try to make a play.
Yeah. And
then the next week against South Carolina, he did try to do that, and then he had all of the turnovers, and then eventually they went back to Jackson Arnold. And so I just think year two, having a better offensive coordinator, a quarterback's coach, I think that can only help a young quarterback, and you're only going to get better the more you kind of go through it, and repetitions and stuff like that. And just the fact that he was thrown into the fire last year, this situation is a lot better than it was last year. He's not getting thrust into the middle of a game against Tennessee's defense. He's had a week to prepare, know that he's going to be the starter, and then he's getting to face Kent State.
Absolutely. And we got a chance to hear from Coach Arbuckle and Coach Venables about Hawkins getting his start as QB1.
Wildly talented. Has great arm strength. The ability to extend plays, has a quick release, and I think just his speed is also kind of an X factor too. Just he's able to do special things with his legs.
The team believes in him, and he's a guy that believes in himself. He's in a much different place than he was a year ago, just as far as his mental capacity as a true freshman. A lot of growth happens for all players going into year one to year two.
I feel like it's a great situation to be in right now. Just to have those guys around me, and just the support staff, like I said, and just being in the fire last year helped me a lot with just my process and just knowing, the game, and just being in there and being able to command a huddle. So that helped a lot last year.
And Mike's really, really good at a lot of things. And you're right, they are similar in a lot of respects, but there's a little bit of differences between them. And so just trying to put Mike and the offense in positions to be successful is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, when you have the right people, to me, it's invaluable. So John and his approach, that's very well received, and then Mike and his humility to learn from a guy that's, within a couple of years of age, saying, hey, man, I want to do some things like you do. There's a lot that you can teach me. And a lot of young guys are too cool for school and they don't want to admit that or accept that, but Mike's been a sponge, and John's got a great approach.
Good stuff there on Michael Hawkins Jr. The one last thing I'll ask before we move on to another piece of this offense that has been a bit questionable is the pressure, because last year obviously he was taking over. Michael Hawkins Jr. was taking over for a guy that was struggling, and almost like a cautionary tale. This year with the lofty rankings, do you sense that there will be any pressure to maintain the 0 in the loss column and maintain that solid play offensively for him?
Well, I think anytime you play quarterback at Oklahoma, you have pressure put on you because of all the guys that have come before you, the Heisman winners and everything like that. People expect good quarterback play here, and they're not going to like it whenever they don't get good quarterback play, as evidenced a few years ago. Spencer Rattler, who's now the starting quarterback for the Saints, he got booed by his own fans because he struggled to put up points at home against West Virginia. He gets booed for that. People didn't even really it took them a while to kind of warm up to Dillon Gabriel, because the quarterback before him was Caleb Williams, and people saw what happened after Dillon Gabriel left, that things didn't go too well. A little more appreciation. There's always pressure when you're the quarterback at Oklahoma, and I do sense a little bit more of, calmness around Hawkins. He's not a very rah-rah guy, get in your face, kind of I guess, more similar to Kyler Murray in that aspect, and they both have wheels. I'm not saying he's Kyler Murray, but just kind of a similar personality almost, it seems like that. He seems a little bit more calm this year, a little bit more poised. I mean, just listening to him, he would expand on answers a little bit more. Last year, talking to him, he was really short, kind of seemed a little bit nervous, just having to kind of be in that kind of a spotlight and everything. I think he is just a little bit more calm. He knows that, this is kind of like an audition, I guess, to be the starting quarterback after Mateer is gone, whether that's after this year or next year, going to play in the NFL. I think, the pressure isn't totally on this year because, for one, they've started off so well. They've shown, how they can, play against some good competition in Auburn and Michigan. And I don't think losing a game specifically to Texas would really hurt you that much in the grand scheme of things. If Mateer's able to come back against South Carolina and maybe they go 10-2, you're probably still making the college football playoff. So really the thing on your plate is just beat Kent State and, play well and get some confidence heading into the Texas game. If you lose the Texas game, I don't think that's going to hurt you. That's about as good of a loss as you can have in the grand scheme of things. The then question then becomes, are they going to get Mateer back for the South Carolina game? I mean, people around here seem convinced Mateer's going to come back and play against Texas, which I don't necessarily believe. But we've got apparently this, if we'll real quick, just the tortilla presser at the Chipotle in Norman. Was making a burrito for Mateer the other day, and apparently Mateer told him he was going to be back for the Texas game.
Oh, wow.
So there's your inside sources here in Norman. I don't believe he's going to play the Texas game, but that's we've got tortilla pressers at Chipotle that are our insiders here in Oklahoma, and they think he's going to play. People think he's going to play against Texas. I don't see the point. I just would rather him have another week to get back. The problem then becomes if he isn't able to play against South Carolina and you lose that, then you don't have much wiggle room the rest of the way, because winning at Alabama and at Tennessee is going to be a tall order. So you would like to be able to sit there and only have one loss heading into those two games just to have a little bit of wiggle room.
Right.
And I think, Hawkins is more than capable of, beating Kent State and probably this year being at least competitive with Texas, considering we haven't exactly been wowed by Texas this year. So that could be a good game. It was a little disappointing because based on the way the season has gone with Mateer at quarterback, you actually expect OU to beat Texas just on the way things have shook up. But before the season, you were kind of counting that as a loss for OU, not expecting to win that game. So it's a little bit different now, and who knows? I mean, it's a rivalry game. Things can get crazy, but I also have a feeling what you want to talk about next. Maybe a certain running back on the team.
Well, I was going to frame it in a sense where literally I was just looking at the stat line, and you had to go so far down here where the third running back, Javonte Barnes, has more yards or has more carries, 19, than Jaden Knott has yards on the season, 17. Michael Hawkins Jr. has more yards than he does. What is going on here, Holden?
I wish I could tell you. I mean, I wish I could just be a fly on the wall in the running back room and the offensive room and just be like, what the heck is going on here? Do these coaches hate Jaden Knott, or do they just like wasting money and bringing him in to do absolutely nothing? I'm just not quite sure here. This week, Ben Arbuckle did tease that, perhaps we'll get to see Ott a little bit more, but I also feel like we've been getting teased all season in terms of, Jaden Knott and the impact he's going to make on this offense. So I really don't know. I mean, you would love to just see the first drive, Jaden Knott goes out there and, maybe he's not wowing you, but, at least get a few carries and a few kind of, prove that they don't hate him, that he's not hurt or whatever the case is. I don't know.
Because right now he's just been wowing the checkbook.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also hurting his draft stock. I mean, the guy wants to go play in the NFL, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, he has to at least be pondering his decision to come to OU at this point, considering he's not touching the ball. He's just made zero impact on this team, at least from an on-the-field perspective. And I don't know if it's just he's struggling to learn the offense, if they don't like his attitude. Yeah. I just don't know what the reason is for this, because you have a guy that is clearly talented and you have a team that is clearly struggling to run the football. I don't understand the deal here with this. And if they don't get him going this week, I mean, if you're Jay Knott, you'd have to consider hitting the transfer portal again to try and, get another year, because who's going to want to draft you after you go spend a year at Oklahoma where you are basically just non-existent. And it's not like, you're behind Adrian Peterson. You're behind Javonte Barnes and
exactly.
True freshman Torrey Blaylock and Xavier Robinson in terms of rushing. And once Hawkins gets some more playing time, he's going to be getting the ball a lot more, I would imagine. I mean, we saw Mateer carry the ball 20 times against Michigan. I would suspect that Hawkins gets pretty close to that number as well. But yeah, Jay Knott, I don't know, man. It's the greatest mystery that I can think of in terms of a player who's clearly talented and just isn't playing for a team.
Yeah, and quickly doing some
recent memory.
And doing just the fastest math ever. It looks like he's averaging about $100,000 a handoff so far. So you know what? It's a pretty good return on investment for him. It's pretty good return on investment.
Back in that checkbook, baby.
Exactly.
Bad return on investment for the Sooners, though.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to get Jim Nagy to explain the return on investment here. If he's sweating it out a little bit or what's going on there.
No question. You're the best, man. Really appreciate it, Holden.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Holden Cruz Mark trying to figure things out, just like all of us, with Jaden Knott and this Oklahoma team as they go John Mateerless against Kent State. Can't read Kent State. We have more Southeast Sports Plus next.
Welcome back into Southeast Sports Plus. Simone, Eli, Gerhard, Mathangani, Patrick Walsh joining you as hour number 2 rolls right along here on the show. Shout out to Holden Kruzmark for holding it down there for us in Oklahoma. And as always, our friends there in Austin at KXAN doing the best work in the company, holding things down with the Texas Longhorns. Noah Gross is joining us this week from Austin. Noah, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Good. I got to ask, how was Holden? He's a friend of mine. I'm gonna have to exceed whatever he did. So I just want to know what kind of bar.
Holden's very funny. He's very witty, and that is why our interview went over, and that you are 9 minutes delayed. So if you are mad, I would like for you to text him, because that is why the interview went over. So I apologize for not getting you at the bottom of the hour, because when you were supposed to come on, and that was Holden's fault. So.
Yeah. I'm happy to blame Holden. Wit is certainly not a strong suit of mine, so that is going to be a bit of an issue.
That is not true. You guys are both very witty, actually.
Yeah. Very kind, but overall, I can talk, so I'm ready to talk.
That's what we need. That is what we need, no question. Noah, it's been a minute since we caught up with you here on the show. When I look at this Texas football team right now, we've had a lot of moments of questioning what exactly is this offense, kind of questioning what is Texas going to be moving forward. After 3 glorified scrimmages, I think is what we originally coined them as when we were speaking with your fellow friend over there with Roger Wallace. Now, going to finally jump into SEC play against Florida this weekend. What are your thoughts going into this game for the Longhorns?
A couple things. One, Texas, I believe, is the last SEC team to start conference play and play a conference game. So for Texas, I think the bye week probably came at a good time, although, I mean, what a gauntlet they have the rest of October here. You think about it, this is a team just schedule-wise, it's kind of interesting, right? They had that season opener at Ohio State, one of the best defenses in the country, and you come home for 3. I mean, it's a disservice to cupcakes to call those cupcakes. Like, I was talking to a former Texas player recently, and he was like, I would feel bad when we would face, like, North Texas. And North Texas is way better than these schools that Texas has brought in recently. So for them, it's kind of getting some things right. But in the month of October, it is 3 road games and then 1 home game that's at in Dallas against OU. So the entire month of October, they're not going to be home. And to me, Texas has been so good on the road as of late, but this is quite the test this month to be gone this long, 4 SEC games. And yeah, Florida's maybe not what we were expecting them to be, but like overall, the Texas's SEC schedule is shaping out to be a bit harder than I think people thought early in the season.
For Arch Manning, there was a lot of talk preseason. There was a lot of talk after the Ohio State game. It looked like the last game against Sam Houston was a bit of a get-back game. Now they had the bye week. What are your reasonable expectations as he goes back on the road for the first time since going over to the Shoe and playing against the Florida team who – obviously, he's not having the season that they want to have, but has, it's pretty solid players all overall.
Yeah, this is a different animal for Arch and Texas that they've seen the last couple of games, as you said, despite how much Florida's been struggling. So for Arch, I think he's kind of learning that, I just watching like some of the highlights last week, you could tell, yeah, there's maybe not any throws where you're like, wow, that's an incredible like first round NFL throw, but there's no real major mistakes. And I always think about this when I was young. My cousins were big Jets fans in like the Mark Sanchez era, and they would say, literally, if Mark Sanchez would just take a knee every single play, the Jets would win because their defense was good and their offense was just all they do is like turn the ball over. So Texas is probably not at that point because you're facing SEC competition, but it needs to be like a total like SEC friend, Greg McElroy game manager, because Arch can do a lot more with his legs, but as long as he doesn't make the mistake, I think that's fine. It's just, and I know we'll talk about this as well, it's supposed to be ugly weather-wise this week in Gainesville pretty much the entire weekend. So that combined with the first SEC game could make things a bit dicey for Arch and this Texas offense.
It's going to be a swamp in the swamp. Looking forward to that game between these two teams. Certainly, Florida is another storyline in and of itself. Let's take a listen to head coach Steve Sarkisian this week in terms of sense of urgency and getting done early in the SEC.
So we definitely have our work cut out for us, but I could tell you from our team's perspective, our guys are really excited to play in this game. I've said that, been commending them for weeks now, but this week even more than ever. I mean, the sense of urgency that these guys have practiced with this week, the intent, the energy, the physicality and the speed of which they practice this week, I've been thoroughly impressed. And so looking forward to watching these guys go out and compete Saturday at 3:30.
It is strange to me, and you're right, when you look at this, the conference records, and this is the only team that is 0-0 in SEC play because they have not played an SEC game yet, which screams to me that they're not battle tested, right? I mean, if you've not played against opponents in the greatest conference that you also compete in, then you're not really battle tested. Okay, I understand the Ohio State game. That seems like that was literally 7 years ago at this point. I mean, Texas is kind of fallen off the map when it comes to being this huge conversation piece. That's all that we were talking about going into the year, and now it's like everyone's gone to sleep on Texas because they're sitting there sleeping, against these three teams nobody even knows where they're located. And now you're going to jump into SEC play. Is there a possibility, Noah, that Texas is, I don't know, not that good? And we're going to find out pretty quickly here over the next month.
A lot of people around that cover this program, that our fans are very nervous that might be the truth. Texas, I don't think we can confirm that this team is that great yet because offensively they've not been able to show that much. So there's a bit of uncertainty. And I will say SEC schedule as a whole, last year things in Texas' first year in the conference kind of worked out well. Not that it was an easy slate, it's the SEC, but Florida, for example, was on the third-string quarterback when they came to Austin last year. Mississippi State was way far behind what they are now as a program as well. So this year, the slate as a whole, Florida's not been that good, but Lagway's playing. They are on the road in the swamp in what could be a bad environment. You look at Vanderbilt coming into Austin later. That's a team, I think game day's going – how often – has game day ever been where a game where Vanderbilt's been a road team?
No, that's is actually unheard of.
Yeah, so there's that. Mississippi State's a lot better, and that's a road game as well. So I think the thing for Texas is their defense is going to keep them in every single game. Like, I don't think they're ever going to lose by more than a touchdown. I'd be surprised unless the game just got away from them.
Yeah.
But people talk about, like, when Texas was coming, like, are they going to be able to handle, like, the week in, week out SEC grind? Their schedule in the SEC is not what some others are. They can avoid some of the LSUs and Ole Misses of the world in Alabama this year. But to me, this year is much more of the traditional, like, okay, you can't take a week off. Because last year, not that they would take weeks off, but like Florida with third-string quarterback, that felt like a cupcake game. It was like 48-0, like an instant last year. So I think this year, that's an additive thing this year for the Longhorns.
Absolutely. You mentioned the defense. I wanted to ask about them because they're playing against DJ Lagway, who coming into the season at least was considered one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. And this, to Simone's point about not being tested, this is probably the first test since Julian Sand in week one. How does this defense handle it, knowing all the great pieces that they have, but being able to put it together against some of the more elite talent in the league?
Yeah, I'm questioning kind of what either quarterback will be able to do just because of Arch's in this Texas offense, how aggressive they'll be in pushing the ball down the field when that hasn't really been a strength of his. He did make one really good throw against Sam Houston a couple weeks ago down the field, but it was pretty open as well. So on that side, it'll be interesting. But Lagway, again, in possible bad weather with a fan base that can kind of turn on this program quickly. They're certainly frustrated with how things have been going for Florida in this Texas defense. I don't know if it's going to be the best day for him either as well, because Texas is so smart defensively. They can kind of handle, if you get them for a couple plays early on, they'll be able to adjust. And they've had the same coordinators as far as head coach, offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, defense coordinator for all of Steve Sarkisian's tenure now. So these guys know how to kind of quickly transition and adjust as well. So that Texas defense is so outstanding. And I think we probably talked about this early on, but the only question mark for them was like, can the defensive line hold up? And they have been getting better every single week. There's so many transfers, and they've been so good. So that Longhorn front seven is really incredible. And I think that'll be a test for Lagway and this Florida team.
After these 3 games, the 3 wins against non-SEC opponents, what is the kind of the vibe? What is the feel there from Sark? Has he shown his hand a little bit on any glaring concerns that he has right now, outside of what is Arch banning and outside of like what is his play going to be? Are there protection issues? What's the injury situation look like for this team as they kind of kick off things in the SEC play?
I would say a big thing for Texas is running back health. They've been working with C.J. Baxter and Trey Wisner as well. And then Jarrett Gibson, a youngster on this Texas team that is a Florida native. So the ugly weather can kind of be the theme for this one in Texas. But if it is like that, running the ball is going to be a big key for the Longhorns. And if they can get healthier in that room, that would be a big one. Emmett Mosley, a wide receiver. Rogers back in the room. I don't know if he has what they said about Emmett Mosley this week as well, but he's a transfer from Stanford that has not played yet this season. Does it sound like he has a chance to play this year?
Questionable on the what's up, guys? I think he's pointing towards playing.
That's your up-to-the-minute injury report right there. How about that?
I don't even know what he said. I just know that Roger Wallace appeared like a dark, like a king in the night. Like there's a guy, like his aura just came right behind you in the sports office, and that was probably the greatest moment on this show we've had in a month. Our guy.
He appears when you need him.
Yeah. What did you just say, Roger? What breaking news did you have for us? What'd you do?
Yeah, but he was saying Emmett Mosley is questionable, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mosley's questionable.
I think they're hopeful.
Yes.
Hopeful.
Simone's stunned because I remember she wasn't in on Monday.
Listen, everyone's keeping notes. They're like, where's the girl that started this crazy thing we all have to be a part of? Listen, Roger, it cracks me up that you just appeared. I didn't even see you over there. I mean, listen, if there's a sports department that I would like to join in this entire company, it's the one in Austin. There's no doubt about that. It's like a daily party over there, I feel like. Where's our...
The Cleveland Guardians are playing, though, with Noah.
Yeah, it's stressful.
Oh, man.
Right now,
people stressing over the Cleveland sports, professional sports. That's tale as old as time. That's a regular thing if you're gonna have your heart set on anything that's happening over there in that city.
Yes. Okay. Wait. What was I saying?
You want me out of here now?
Yeah.
Roger, we love you, dog. Where's Levon? He's probably like these two. I got to deal with them all the time. Where's Bree? Talk to me like Bree and Jayla. Your entire staff, man. I just love those guys.
Yeah, we can have them on as well. But of course,
Noah's like, everyone's hijacking my show, my appearance right now.
I gotta ask you, Noah, what about that chair? Did the chair fixed?
I think we just switched it actually.
Oh, okay. No, the last time we made sure it was like, hey,
Noah was literally like going down, and he would come back up.
It was awful. Yeah, this chair was broken too, but this one just had like a handle, and that one was fixed. So we're just like, what they say, like when you're writing something and you don't know whether there should be a comma or whatever, and you just say like the best way to avoid it, or best way to fix a problem is just to avoid it.
Yeah.
Well, another member of our
Who's that? Who's that? Who is that?
Yeah, so it's just it's been a busy day here. And
Noah, who is that? Who is that guy?
This is our digital sports reporter, Billy Gates.
Digital sports reporter.
Billy.
Okay. All right. How many people y'all got in sports over there?
Man, this has been a chaotic 5 or so minutes.
Listen, man, that's why Roger blocks everybody out and goes to the CTV room, and he's like, "All right, guys, I'm not dealing with anybody right now."
For sure, yeah.
Man,
he was moving quickly.
That was hilarious.
He kind of came in.
Just like, let me just drink some water. Roger literally appeared like a I don't know.
I love
like a ninja in the night. He just like came out like he was like backlit. I mean, this is great.
That Christmas story, like the ghost of Christmas future, just came in and was just like, "Here's some information for you."
There we go. Blurred back.
This has been, without question, the best end of an interview I've ever been a part of in my life.
It's been beautiful.
Noah, appreciate you. Appreciate Roger.
Noah, I give you an A+.
Yes.
You had a tough task to go up against after Holden, and honestly, you said you were witty. Good job.
Yes. Yes. You said you weren't witty, man. Listen, you just outdid Holden, and Holden just shows up and just says funny stuff all the time. So.
If you guys came for Texas Football Insight, this was not the interview for you. But if you came for random appearances from our sports department,
we are here. We are here to provide the entertainment on Southeast Sports Plus. Noah Gross, we appreciate you, man. Always holding it down. Best sports department in Next Star, bro. Appreciate your time, man.
All right, thanks, guys, for having me.
All right, guys, we're going to take a very quick break, come back and say goodbye. Appreciate Noah, Roger, their digital sports producer. That's all right. I'll take one of those. I'll take 2 of those, All right, that's cool. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. time flies when you're having fun. Talking to our friends in Austin, talking to our friends in Oklahoma City and Jackson and Columbus, man. I'm telling you, Next Star Nation, they are entertaining, and that is a understatement.
Represent always. Not only great stuff on the field, but entertainment off it as well.
No question. Patrick, it's going to be a good long weekend. Looking forward to high school football tomorrow, and then we're going to jive right in back on Monday, guys. It's going to be a good weekend of the SEC slate.
And see if Diego Pavia thinks if Vanderbilt can play their game, they're going to blow them out.
It's not going to be close.
It's not going to be close.
Wow.
Did you hear him say that?
No, I did not hear him say that.
He said it's not going to be close. If they play the way they want to play, it won't be close.
Wow.
Well.
Okay.
You know what else won't be close? Mississippi State's blowing out Texas A&M. Goodbye.
We'll revisit all of this and much more on Monday, guys. Southeast Sports Plus returns live on Monday, 2 to 4. We'll see you then. Have a good day.